Hello, my name is Bill Henk, and I'm Dean of the College of Education at Marquette University. In keeping with the original spirit of the 2020 genre, my presentation, which focuses on love, learning, and leading, is an opportunity to talk about the portfolio of my work, which I define in three key ways. Life can be thought of as interlocking gears, with the turning of one affecting others. My life's work consists of three main gears: professional, personal, and spiritual. My plan is to focus my remarks on the first two, sharing how a milestone personal event, the birth of my daughter, has transformed my professional work. It all began with an unexpected telephone call from my wife. 2 pregnancy tests had yielded positive results. Since I had good reason to think that I couldn't have kids, I was stunned, joyous, and deeply doubtful. However, parenthood became real for us when we first saw our daughter on an ultrasound and heard her heartbeat. So, one aspect of my work, so to speak, came to fruition on September 10th, 2005, admittedly with a little help from my wife. Here you see me in the delivery room with my newborn daughter, and one of my first views of her. Even with her right before my eyes, it was hard to believe that I was actually a father. When the nurse finally put our little girl in my arms, I was overcome with 2 powerful emotions. On one hand, I felt unconditional love for this tiny virtual stranger who looked, felt, and even smelled like us. And I remember thinking with a primitive fierceness, may God help anyone who ever hurts this child. Because I'm more than 53 years older than my daughter, like Randy Pausch, whose terminal cancer inspired the last lecture, I fear not being around to teach her all that a father should. So there is always a profound sense of urgency within me to provide her with the wisest guidance imaginable. Complicating matters, my daughter is growing up quickly. As an educator, I've studied, taught, and even written about maturation and development. But I was simply not prepared for how these changes would play out in my own child. I have insights into these processes now that would have made my previous work much better. Despite my many shortcomings, I've made a career as a teacher, scholar, and leader in higher education. I've taught about reading and literacy, done some pretty well-known motivation research on how kids think about themselves as readers and writers, and somehow ended up in the role as a dean. In my work as a dean, I'm often asked to weigh in on public education policies like No Child Left Behind. For many reasons, I've been critical of the initiative, but my disdain for it has taken on a personal meaning, now that one of the children who could be left behind is my very own daughter. And there is no shortage of people who want to know how Marquette's education dean feels about public, charter, and choice schools in Milwaukee. It was one thing to pontificate about these models of schooling in the past, but now quite another, as my wife and I decide which type of school to choose for our child. As a scholar, I'm also interested in how the brain develops and how concepts are learned. Now I study my daughter intensely to see how closely what I've believed and taught to thousands of students actually turns out to be true. Fortunately, my expertise has held up, but there have been some notable surprises. Language learning has always fascinated me because it's important for becoming a good reader. Although I've studied babbling, single word, and sentence formation stages in other people's kids, seeing these processes unfold in our little angel every single day has been eye-opening. Sad to say, my child-rearing shortcomings become fully exposed when my normally angelic daughter morphs into a little hellion. Although I've taught others how to control their kids, her rare temper tantrums literally put the fear of God in me. I know exactly what to do, yet consistently fail to follow my own advice. As a parent myself, I see more clearly how a child's interests are formed, both directly and indirectly. My wife and I are already shaping our daughter's choice of religion and sports teams, as well as a love for animals and music. Some of our influence is by design, but much of it is inadvertent. By contrast, we are deliberately trying to forge the values, attitudes, and beliefs our daughter will hold and exhibit. We have very definite expectations for the kind of high-quality person we want her to become. So what we do as role models is almost always intentional, although far from perfect. What I find most daunting is the challenge of teaching our daughter everything she might need to know in order to live successfully in the world. As this slide shows, there is a vast range of different kinds of knowledge she would benefit from having. This huge array definitely feeds my sense of urgency. So here are my 7 links. First, love can enhance professional learning and the capacity to lead. I'm a much more passionate, insightful, and empathetic teacher, scholar, and dean now. Second, learning strengthens the way we love and lead. It can help us to grow professionally, personally, and spiritually. Third, parenting is leadership, rooted in love and enriched by learning. Fourth, my wife and I truly are our daughter's first and most important teachers. No one else can exert a stronger impact. Fifth, learning is a two-way street. We will continue to learn from her just as she learns from us. Sixth, my experience as a parent cements my belief that all children have the right to the highest quality education. As a professional, all kids must matter to me the same way that my own child does. Giving other children anything else would be wrong. And finally, my legacy will not take the form of my own impressive feats of teaching, scholarship, or administration. It will reside in the way I help my daughter, Marquette class of 2027, be the difference in the world. She is only one child. It's up to all of us to help the rest. Just imagine if we do.